joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Shaun?
I'm doing well, Rich. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Anytime. You know that. How's fatherhood? Last time you were here in person, you said you were about to have a baby. You and your wife.
Yeah. We're playing man-to-man defense now.
Very good.
We've got a boy and a girl.
Okay.
And the 4-month-old. I tell you, she's as sweet as apple pie. That little thing.
That's great.
But I know you can appreciate this being a father. She is a fantastic sleeper. I mean, we put her down at 7:30 at night, and she'll sleep till 7 in the morning.
Shaun,
so we've got no complaints.
Shaun, don't say that out loud. Come on, you know better than that. You just maybe have punched the clown right there. Don't do that. Don't say that. Don't say that. So if you're playing man-to-man defense now, do you travel, or do you just stay on one side of the field? Are you Revis or are you Sherman? Which are you when you're playing man-to-man?
Yeah, no, I can play either side of the field. Right now, I mean, my wife is still breastfeeding, so I'm really just a spectator. I kind of watch her work, and I'm just kind of like there, like, all right, what do you need? What can I do?
You're there for support.
And,
yes.
I'm there for moral support, emotional support.
Good.
I try not to do too much coaching because as soon as you start telling them how to do something, you're sleeping outside.
No.
But my son is, just a little over 2, so he's at a cool age right now where we play tackle, we play pass. He says, "Go Big Blue." It's a lot of fun.
Oh, man, that's great to hear. Shaun O'Hara joining me here on the show. And I was just sort of joking about Sherman. We have been seeing him travel a little bit defensively as Seattle last night came out with a big W. But I'm genuinely concerned about the Seattle offensive line, Shaun. How does this get fixed? It doesn't seem to be getting any better at all.
No, it really doesn't. And, I remember when the trade happened and everybody was goo-goo for Cocoa Puffs because, holy cow, the Seattle Seahawks just got Jimmy Graham. And the one thing I kept saying was, yeah, but everybody forgot what they gave up to get Jimmy Graham. They gave up Max Unger. And, I thought that he really solidified the fort. They've definitely struggled this year in the interior. And I think their right tackle has been a liability. They moved Justin Britt, who I thought actually played okay as a rookie last year, right tackle. They moved him in a left guard. And, it really has shown up. And Russell Wilson, I mean, last night's game, it was just, quarterback sack after quarterback sack between him and Kaepernick. So, if you're an offensive lineman right now and you can even get in a three-point stance, you might get a tryout with Seattle or San Fran. It might just happen.
Shaun O'Hara joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. So is this going to be the Achilles heel? Because they got the Cowboys next week and then the Cardinals after that with a bye in the mix.
Yeah.
Those are two hunters.
Well, I think, it's a great question. And really, at what point do they say we've got to do something? I mean, because if you wait till Russell Wilson gets hurt, then, obviously it's too late. But this team has always been a run-first team. So as an offensive lineman, you're only pass blocking 48% of the time anyways. So it's a legitimate concern. If I'm Pete Carroll, I've got to find ways that, listen, we've got to limit the hits on Russell Wilson. And, look, he does a good job of escaping and running away from a lot of this stuff. But, we saw Michael Vick do a lot of this early on in his career. But those hits, they start to become cumulative. And Russell Wilson is not going to be the same guy in week 14, 15, 16 that he is early on this season. So I fully expect them to find a way to minimize those drop back passes where he's running for his life. I think he's very underrated as a pocket passer. The tough thing is just to give him the time to set his feet and throw.
What about the Giants and Cowboys game intrigues you most about this matchup, Shaun, coming up on Sunday?
Well, number one, I mean, it's who's healthy. Des Bryant's not going to play. Odell Beckham hasn't practiced, and he's just kind of on that almost pitch count. They don't want him to tweak the hamstring during the week, and they're just trying to get him from Sunday to Sunday. But this is a huge game, and I hate to say, while these are such big games early on in the season, but with the Eagles playing the Panthers, if the Giants can find a way to win this football game, they'll be back in first place. And if they get a little help with from the Panthers, it could be a big game for them. But when you think about it, if the Cowboys beat the Giants, and if the Eagles beat the Panthers, the Eagles now are in first place, which is unfathomable considering how poor they started the season. So the NFC East is a huge weekend. That game specifically, I think the Giants should win that game as long as they just don't turn into another slop fest like they did against the Eagles. I thought, in the second half, the game got away from them, and for the first time this season, they were really down in the fourth quarter, and they were one-dimensional. And the Eagles said, look, we're going to roll the safety. We're going to take Odell Beckham away from you. You've got to try to beat us with Larry Donnell or with Shane Vereen, and they just couldn't find a way to get it done. But this Cowboys defense is bleeding yards, and I think Eli is spinning the ball as well as I've seen him throw the ball his entire career. So, it's just a matter of them making plays, and I think surprisingly, the Giants defense has played rather well, specifically against the run. Losing Prince and Mukamura is certainly going to hurt them. But, the big question mark in this game is really Matt Castle. And for him, he's pretty good with the football, but, Jason Witten has been a giant killer throughout his entire career. So I expected him for Matt Castle to really rely on Jason Witten.
Well, I mean, Shaun, you mentioned about a safety being rolled over the top to take Odell Beckham away, and this may sound like a fantasy-related rant, but the reason why I am so focused on Odell Beckham is not just because of how great he is, but he is on a fantasy team of mine, and I do pay specific attention because of that. But how does he just disappear in a second half of a game where you need a quick game, and he is one of the best quick game receivers there is? I don't care about a safety rolling over the top. Shouldn't there be a bubble screen? Shouldn't there be some sort of reverse? Can't you scheme a way to use him, Shaun, in a game where it is on the line against an opponent? How does he just disappear, Shaun?
No, that's a great question. And I think Ben McAdoo, I'm sure looking back at this film, he's saying, man, I didn't give him the ball in the second half. I've got to do a better job of finding ways. And he has done that. He's actually brought Odell Beckham in the backfield and kind of used him as a running back and flared him out in a little go screen, a little bubble screen. So they're trying to be creative and find ways to get on the ball. I think for the Giants last week, the big factor was they had a number of first down runs that got nothing. And so now they were in 2nd and 9, 3rd and 9, and they're saying, look, we can't run little 5-yard outs. We've got to get the ball down the field, and we've got to move these chains. So they tried some deeper routes, and it got them in trouble with pass protection. So those kind of things go hand in hand. But, I don't think anybody would ever fault Ben McAdoo for throwing the ball to Odell Beckham 25 times. And, the question that I have is, if you have a tweak in your hamstring, you may feel pretty good in the first and second half, but all of a sudden now in the second half, maybe that hamstring starts to get fatigued. And maybe now, because you haven't practiced during the week, maybe now you're starting to feel a little bit more. And that would be my bigger concern as to why we didn't see Odell Beckham with the ball in the second half.
Last question for you, Shaun O'Hara. Your Rutgers Scarlet Knights have the #1 team in the country in the house this weekend. What can you tell me about a chance for an upset in New Jersey, Shaun?
Well, I tell you, it's the place is going to be rocking. And, Rutgers was, they were driving a couple weeks ago against Michigan State, and I don't think anybody gave the Scarlet Knights a chance to knock off Michigan State. But they had a chance. They were right there. And it was, a mistake at the end that cost them. They rallied back against Indiana last week. I really think Chris Laviano, he could have a huge game. And Leonte Carew, listen, he's a first-round pick. This kid is phenomenal. He's a physical wide receiver. I just like we're talking about getting the ball to Odell Beckham.
Yep.
If I'm Chris Laviano, I'm throwing the ball to Leonte Carew, whether it's covered or not. This could really be a breakout game for Carew because I could see him going off for 4 touchdowns. And I think that's really the biggest part of this game. But Laviano's got to protect the football. If he throws a couple picks in the first half, this game, as watching the Big Ten, these teams, they pounce on those opportunities. So
certainly,
the Rutgers, the longer they can hang around in the game, the better.
Certainly with Barrett getting the start and him appearing to be the much better quarterback right now than Cardell Jones.
Yeah, and I think, the thing that scares you if you're Kyle Flood is, all right, how am I going to try to pressure this kid? Because he's so dangerous with his legs, too. And so now if I call a blitz, even if my guy gets home and we made the right call, can he actually make the sack? Can he complete the play? Mm-hmm. Or is this kid going to baseball roll out the backside and run for a 25-yard gain? And that's really where the challenge is. You want to pressure him, but you want to keep him in the pocket. And you know what? Maybe he makes a couple of bad throws in the pocket.
Shaun, Thanks for joining. I hope you get the sleep from your kids, because if you don't now, it's on you. You know that, okay? All right.
I definitely just mushed myself.
Just be careful.
I gave it the jinx.
Be careful. Take care, Shaun.
All right, thanks, Rich.
Shaun O'Hara, at Shaun O'Hara 60 on Twitter. Check him out again on NFL Network, along with Melissa Stark and the gang on NFL Game Day First every single Sunday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time on NFL Network.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.